Hello and welcome. Thanks for tuning in today. Today I'm going to be making a pastelon. Now, this is one of the staples for holidays and things like that. That's pretty much when you would see this dish in a Puerto Rican home. All a pastelon is kind of like a lasagna. We're going to layer this pastelon much like a lasagna, except there are no noodles. It's going to include sweet plantains. So let's get into it. For this pastelon, we're going to need some ground beef. I have about I'd say roughly a 70-30 mix here of ground beef and pork. Typically, you're going to be using ground beef, but I had a little ground pork, so I'm going to kind of mix the two. We're going to cook that with some of the homemade sofrito. And require some tomato sauce. This is an 8-ounce can. I'm going to use the whole thing of that. And the key ingredient in a pastelon is this sweet plantain here, which we call maduros. Maduros just means ripe. It's the same exact thing as a regular plantain. The difference is obviously this is ripened and this is not. So much like regular bananas, when these get ripe, they get sweet. But you're not going to eat a sweet plantain raw. So this is still going to require some cooking. Alright, so here in my pan I have about a tablespoon or so of oil. Anytime I'm using sofrito, I'm probably using some ham, and I'm definitely using tomato sauce. Alright, I'm going to add my sofrito here. Now, I'll be using roughly 2.5 pounds of meat. So, for sofrito, I'm going to be using about 3.5 tablespoons of that. I'm going to mix that in here. I don't really want that sofrito to get brown in color. I just want to open everything up. So now I'm going to add in my ground beef and pork. I'm going to toss that right in there. My hands are washed here. I'm actually at a little bit of lower heat. Now that I got the meat in here, I'm going to kick up the heat and go more of a medium. And I just want everything to get incorporated right now. As far as seasonings go, I don't season with a whole lot of different stuff. I really just use salt, garlic powder, and black pepper. Those are like the main things I use. In a lot of Puerto Rican cooking, you'll find people use adobo. All adobo really basically is salt, pepper, garlic powder, and some oregano. I prefer to just do that on my own. And I season everything to taste here. So, as far as measurements go for seasoning your stuff, again, I'm not really good with that stuff. But kind of just go by feel. In a lot of Puerto Rican cooking too, you'll find sazon, which is a mixture of salt, pepper, cumin, achote or annatto seed, and that gives it that red color, and MSG. I don't really like using that packaged either. As much as I can use without getting it all kind of pre-mixed and all that stuff with the preservatives added, I kind of just make my own. So here I am going to add some what is essentially sazon, but this is a homemade version of that. And I just went with a good solid, let's say, teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons of that. And that's why I don't add real heavy on salt or anything like that, because a lot of these flavor packagings have salt in them. And again, when I'm using a product like a ham product or a pork sausage product, that stuff is already salty as it is. So I try to monitor how much salt I use, and that's why I like to season and taste as I go. Alright, so now that this meat is cooked through, I'm going to get some of that excess fat out of there, right? Before I do that, I'm going to just try the meat here. I'd say I could use a little more garlic powder, a little more salt. And I think that'll do. Obviously, I don't want to leave this fat in there, so I'm going to drain that. Lower my heat a little bit. And collect as much of that fat as I can, without grabbing all the meat with it. So now I'm going to take that 8-ounce can. I'm going to drop it in there. Now normally you would top this off with water. I'm going to try something a little different today. I have a homemade veggie broth here. So, made this the other day. It's a homemade veggie broth, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that in there. And I don't necessarily want to make a soup here, but I want to add enough to fully incorporate all that sauce, cover the meat, and we're going to start making our mixture here. Now that everything's pretty much together, take another little taste, see if I need to adjust anything. I actually might have a couple more ounces of tomato sauce. So I use 1 8-ounce can. I might end up using, when it's all said and done, about 10 ounces or so. So I think I'm going to add a little bit more. Now to help keep that consistency that I'm looking for, I'm going to add just a little bit of cornstarch here. Not a lot. I don't want this to like completely solidify on me, but I'd say probably added maybe 2 ounces. Dissolve some cornstarch in some water. It's about 2 ounces of that. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to lower my heat. I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to let it do what it's going to do. Alright, so we've been letting this go. I think it's pretty much done. So I'm going to give this a little mix, and as you can see, the consistency is much thicker. It's got a nice little body to it. I'm going to let it cook a little bit more to reduce a little bit uncovered. And then I'm going to set it to the side until I'm ready to assemble it. But as always, taste as you go. So I'm going to give this a little taste. It's hot.
Okay.
Tell me what you think. Don't burn yourself. Good? Oh, there you go. I got the vote of approval. Alright, so now for the sweet plantains. All we're going to do is cut the ends off. I put a little slit down the length of it on two sides. Swedge my knife in there, and then after that it's pretty easy to peel. See, comes right off. And then most of these I'm going to mash, so I'm really just going to probably go about 1 inch like that. Now for the ones that I want to kind of like layer like more like noodles, I'm going to cut them in like strips like this. That's pretty much what I'll do. So I'm going to fry these like that, and then you'll see when we come to the end here how I'm going to layer it and make it all nice and even. Alright, so I've got some oil going here. I'm going to drop in my bananas. And I'm just going to let those fry. They're going to get like a nice golden brown color. Once I see that, I know they're good. Right now they're completely submerged, so I don't have to worry about flipping or tossing around or anything. This is going to take 15 to 20 minutes. Once they're done, I'm going to pull them off, put them off to the side, then I'm going to mash them. 15, 20 minutes or so, and they're just the way. Look at that. Beautiful. Alright, now I'm going to dump in these ones that I've cut on a diagonal. Obviously, whenever you're frying anything, you don't just want to drop them right in. Keep the motion going away from you. That way if it does fall, it doesn't splash going toward you, splashes away from you. But all I want here is the same exact thing. I want these to be nice, golden brown. And there you have it. All right. Alright, so we're all done with those. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Alright, so now for our mashed plantain. So I'm going to mash this plantain on one of these things here. This is called a pilon, or you could call this mortar and pestle, if that's what you're familiar with, but it's the same thing. We're going to use this. This one's made of wood. And I'm going to use this to mash those plantain pieces that we fried. So now I'm going to layer my pastelon. I'm going to take that mashed plantain and I'm going to put it on the bottom. I'm going to take the meat from that pan from earlier. It's cooled down enough where you can see now with the consistency. Look at that. And I'm going to make a layer here. I have some green beans that I steamed earlier. I'm going to throw those in because, well, I like green beans, why not, right? They're still hot, actually. Now I'm going to do another layer of meat. And now I'm going to layer it with those fancy looking ones. The ones that I cut like this. Put that all around. Before I forget, I want to scramble 2 eggs. My grandmother always used to put egg in it, kind of like as a binder. I'm going to do the same thing here. Almost forgot the egg, but to be honest, I'm not quite sure if it's necessary, but it's the way I was taught. The egg is on top. I mixed it in. It got in through the bottom there. There you go. And that right there is your pastelon. I'm going to put that in the oven at about 400 for 20 to 25 minutes, and it'll be good to go. Now I'm going to put it in the oven at 400 degrees. There you have it. Pastelon. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you get a chance to try this. And as always, buen provecho. See, that's what it looks like. It's nice and mashed.